What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I'm BobbyFi, back with my man Eric Sheetshaber as usual. We will be doing this show. We'll be doing a FanDuel show, and then later on today, at 3:30 Eastern, I will have a RotoQL BetQL show that'll have a little probably more formatted thoughts as we get more information throughout the day. Came really close last night. Finished fourth in the Monster with one lineup. That was a little bit of a disappointment. Had a really good chance to win, but that Celtics, the game blew out a little bit at the end with the Celtics and Houston. I had three players from that game, including Westbrook, Hayward, and Brown, who got hurt at the end of the game. So a little frustrating because I was fractional points away from at least doubling what my wins were. But hey, a positive night, a good night for me and the folks at State Kings, and ready to get after what is one of the big slates of the year. Like, this is, to me, it's the last big slate before the All-Star break, the first big one after the All-Star break, the day before Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. And these are the slates I like to win and get heavy invested on. So I'm ready to get into it. What are your thoughts initially looking at this slate?
Well, first of all, when I was considering, this is going back now, doing my poker site, I was getting a little pushback from my partner saying, well, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to teach people how to play? Why do you want to do whatever? Aren't you just giving away more equity doing that than, just playing yourself, And, I thought about it back and forth, but I used to do other things with respect to teaching and things like that. And one thing that I impressed upon him, which was kind of an unintended benefit, but for me it was intended because I knew what was going to happen, is that the very act of actually teaching people and trying to frame everything in a cogent manner actually made my own play much better. And it forced me to kind of think about things from a fundamental perspective and really think, kind of think things through when I was doing my poker lectures. And I became a much better poker player just from teaching other people how to play also. And so likewise, when we do these DFS things, there is an unintended benefit that if you do it the right way, that if you teach people and you think of how am I going to explain this in the right way, it makes you think about the slate, makes you think a little better also. So, for example, last night, it was about 15 minutes before, actually like an hour and a half before lock, and I messaged Bobby, are you going to go live? He's like, nah, I don't think so. I said, you know what? I want to go live just for no other reason that I want to actually just force myself to kind of just talk this whole thing through, and Bob's, yeah, it's pretty good idea. So, when we went live, it was kind of unintended, but then, for those of you who were there and not just asking QQs and actually paying attention to what was going on during the live stream, you actually heard Bobby just really just talking through his process along the way, you know what I mean? And he and I bouncing ideas back off one another. And, if you went back and looked at it, you could actually see the lineup that ended up really, doing well for him kind of created during that process. So I don't know, that's one of the reasons why I like doing this, is because, again, the act of us talking about it, if we do it the right way, makes us better players also.
Yeah, it was great, man. And it did a good job. Like, for me, like, I did come on to what basically I sort of went full circle on my FanDuel lineups. And I decided in my big buy-in lineup to basically to play the two Celtics at the small forward spot, to play Westbrook at the point guard spot, to pay all the way down at shooting guard, and then to play Embiid. Look, Embiid obviously wasn't the ideal Embiid we wanted, but Embiid and I wanted either Paul George, or I wanted, which I couldn't do because of the two small forward spots, or I wanted to take Kawhi Leonard. And I ended up with Kawhi Leonard, with Paul George, with Westbrook, with the two Celtics. Now, it really could have gone a lot better for me. And if it was a bigger tournament, it probably wasn't going to win, but it was a 200-person tournament. Finished fourth. Should have, literally, I thought I was a huge favorite to win. But onward and upward, at least it wasn't a six-figure for first-place tournament, so that feels a little better. And, today we've got some huge tournaments, and I feel really good about being dialed in right before the break. I really have spent a lot more time researching, and these shows have been a big part of that help. So thanks to Eric, and thanks to you guys for tuning in, because it does really benefit us to give you guys, we're giving away free information, but at the same time, this is helping us as well. And obviously it's been helping at least a number of you, because we've gotten some great responses from different ones in tournaments. So
Bob, so this is the Bobby slate, man. Bobby's the master at these big 13-game slates. So let's see if we can't figure out how to attack this. You want to just you want to start off game by game? You want to do slate overview?
I think there's one thing that's going to be interesting to note, and I'm just going to point it out from the very beginning. And it's going to be funny because it's Victor Oladipo has let us all down, has played absolutely poorly. The team is on a losing streak. What do we think? They're going to sit Victor Oladipo? No, he's going to play 28 minutes the last game before the break. Sort of like not a must win for them, but you want to go in with some momentum after the 6-game losing streak for a good team. They're playing Milwaukee, but they're playing them without Giannis at home. Oladipo, I feel like if he was 4K, or 3,900, which is really like when it comes to the grand scheme of like winning a tournament, it's not going to usually make all that much of a difference on a giant slate. So Oladipo at 4,800 is one guy who I'm considering going just absolutely astronomically above the field, whatever that may be. And the good news is I think that's going to be in the 20% range, whereas I think it should be in the 60 to 70% range. I think it's like a lock for cash, in my opinion. This is not going to keep happening. This guy is shooting like 28% from the floor since he came back. I mean, and on top of it, like he's just been off. But Milwaukee, you can beat him from the outside because they give up the most 3-point attempts, partly because they're usually up by a bunch of points, but also that's the way you try and beat them. You lose the rim protection with Giannis. I just feel like this might be a spot to, again, take a huge stance on Oladipo. And I think he's going to be completely unowned on FanDuel because there's a lot of great plays. So I just think over there, I just wanted to mention that. We'll get into our FanDuel show, but he's the one guy at first glance that I'm going, ooh, I might want to be just way, way, way above any field on this guy.
Yeah, the thing about Oladipo, it's interesting because, I had him pretty much locked in the other day also. And, with a guy like that, he was fine. You know what I mean? He was fine. And as I was watching the game, it looked like he just wasn't doing anything. He looked like he wasn't aggressive. Every time he got the ball, he passed up to somebody else. And with all of that, he still got 25, 30 points or whatever the hell he got. You know what I mean? So
and he still shot 15 times.
Yeah, I think guys like that are very, I think he's very, very safe. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can find anybody better than Devin Booker, which at first glance I couldn't find anybody. So we'll see.
I like Devin Booker as well, but I'm interested to hear your take because that's not a guy who I thought of like in terms of a potential lock. Okay. I really only thought of Oladipo, and I'm just gonna mention one other guy who I'm considering doing that with, and you're gonna get a much lower ownership. And we mentioned him a lot in the last show in a terrible matchup where he played all the minutes. Now he's got the ceiling matchup, the nut matchup of all time. It's PJ Washington at 4,400.
We'll get to that. I like that.
Yeah, we're gonna roll a lot of PJ Washington out tonight. We're gonna build with the best players, and we're gonna find some little stacks. But let's go game by game for now. We'll start off with Detroit, Orlando. Sheets, this is not the most fun game on the slate. Am I wrong?
It's a lot of fun because we could just get rid of it. I mean, honestly, if there's, I wouldn't play anybody from this game. I mean, Vooch would be my favorite guy on DraftKings, great, and on Orlando and Detroit, I'd probably go back to Christian Wood. But if it was like a 2-game slate, you know what I mean? I just think there's gonna be much better plays on a lot of different games than anybody in this game.
Yeah, and I expect we'll hear about some news. Like one thing we don't have is a glaring projection for cheap players from a point per dollar standpoint that you should feel safe about today. So it's a little bit of a funny slate, but I really like that. Unfortunately, it's probably going to change throughout the day, but I really hope it doesn't because I'm a big fan of it like this. I think that the only play for me in this game really like that I won't maybe you could argue for a sprinkle of Vooch or something like that. For me, it's going to be Christian Wood. I just think that I'll be above the field on him. I don't mind having as much as probably even 20% of him. I don't care about the tough matchup. I think that with the minutes being where they are, like they were in a blowout game the other night. I think you're going to see Christian Wood back in the 35-minute range, especially with all the size they have in Orlando. And I think that just means he's very, very likely to get between 40 and 60. And when people are all going to jump off, I think we stay on. So he's the one guy in this game, even in a bad matchup, that I definitely have some interest in. I do worry this could get like blowout. Like, to be honest, I was kind of surprised the spread wasn't like double digits in this game, personally. And then the other guy I mentioned is that everybody will jump off the Reggie Jackson for good reason because the price and everything. But probably can't consider Rose. Yeah, probably the wrong slate for anybody else. I just wanted to think it out for a second. Really, it's just Christian Wood for me. And I do think I'll be probably like around 20% on him. At least that's my early plan.
All right. Atlanta at Cleveland. We're going to start with the first of a number of, I think, really, really strong spend ups here. And it's going to be Trae Young. So Trae Young is, what is he? 10-2, 10-4, whatever it is. Playing against Cleveland, he's projecting really nicely, and you want to know the truth. I mean, he's only projecting at 10-15% ownership or something like that. Now, a lot of that is a function of the fact that there's like 100 options to choose from, so it's hard to make anybody that chalky. But I certainly think that in a 235 total with a close spread and all that stuff, I think it's a really, really really nice matchup for Trey. And you know, for me, I can make pretty kind of cool Bobby-ish run back with one or two of his favorites, and maybe one of the guards on Cleveland, either Garland or Sexton. I don't really have much of an interest in Drummond. You know, you could try to talk me into it, but I think that's actually probably a good way to start on this slate, is to do something with like Trae Young and see if we can't get anything better later. But for now, I think Trae Young's my favorite play, and run it back if I want with Sexton and or Garland.
Yeah, I want to know if Kevin Love plays tonight or not. That's one thing I'd like to figure out. We'll obviously know beforehand, but I just get a feeling he doesn't, but we'll see. I love Trae Young. I think Trae Young is the guy I want to be, one of the guys I want to be most over the field on. I just don't like, I mean, look, they get smoked in games and he puts up 40 something. And if this game is reasonably close, which it should be, like, I don't know. I would expect a monster game. I do think with Bembry coming back, it kind of hurts a little bit to some of these guys, including Trae. Like, instead of Trae playing 40 minutes tonight, he might play 34. You know what I mean? That's basically what I'm looking at. But yeah, I mean, I think that Trae Young is one of the better plays. And the only other real interest I have on Draftkings over here is I think you could make an argument for DeAndre Hunter, but I don't think I'm going to do it on this slate. I think Dwayne Dedmon is the other guy I would really consider. Like, they're playing him the minutes. They're using him as the center. We've seen how Drummond has just been torched, both giving up offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, just playing terrible defense against every center for the last 2 months. Dwayne Dedmon, if he gets the minutes, which he should in this game, I think that he's like an interesting tournament play, but I'm afraid that he actually might get ownership more than I want. But I do like Dwayne Dedmon quite a bit because the size to match up. I don't think they're going to put Collins at the 5. He doesn't want to play the 5. They're trying to get ready for Capella by using this Dedmon situation. So that's what I think is going to end up happening. So I do like him. And then on the run back, I happen to really like Drummond if there's no Kevin Love. I think that he's a terrific run back. I think he could play poorly and put up a monster game in this matchup. And, you know, that first game, it's almost like he was joking around. He took 3 threes he made 2 of them against the Clippers. You know, I just think that Drummond has got a massive ceiling, especially if Kevin Love is out here. But I'm really, really into taking a shot on one of the guards. I would lean Sexton. He's been chucking. I just think that the Darius Garland game is coming, man. It's I mean, he's had a few of them, but this is at 4,700 at 35 minutes against Atlanta as a starting player. Like, he'd have to play really poorly not to get to 25 to 30 here. I disagree with the projections on him. I have him actually, and I'm gonna take a quick look at what we have on RotoQL for him, just because I'm trying to take that into account. They nailed a few things yesterday. Like, they were so high on Derek White that no one else was nearly even close. Although later in the day, people sort of came onto it from some groupthink. Just worth mentioning, PJ Washington rates to be about the best play of the day on the site. And I'm just really quickly, sorry, let me take a quick look. So we have Garland at, a little bit higher, but not much. And then we have Sexton at, again, Sexton would be the preferred play if you asked the RotoQL. But I think Garland at this price, it just feels, again, I hate to use the word safe with upside, but like, we don't have these crazy values. This is one of the values that could get you like 8, 9x. He's a gunner. If he gets hot, he can really, really turn his slate around. Like, he hasn't played well in a while. Kevin Porter might have even, you could argue, that limited him. And that sort of brings me to my next point, is that if I'm not playing either of those guys, I am absolutely going to take a shot on Kevin Porter. Kevin Porter at 4,300. I like this guy's game, actually, and I feel like this game environment really suits him. So I think you could see all 3 of those guys playing, good minutes tonight. And if they all play, you assume that 35 for the other guys and then 28 from Porter, I think you could see a 30-plus game easily from Porter here. And without this outstanding value, he's certainly one of the guys I'm looking at early on. And again, I want exposure to this game. So I actually don't think I wouldn't write any rules for this. If you play this guy, you can't play that guy, assuming Love is out, of course. If Love is in, by the way, I think he's in play as well. I just don't feel like incredibly in love with it. And if Love is out, just one more quick guy to mention, Larry Nance Jr., maybe better on FanDuel, but certainly in play on DraftKings at 5,100 in, again, a very Larry Nance-y kind of game. this Cleveland team is seeing a huge uptick, and they're not priced for it, and we haven't really seen much of that. So as much as it sucks to go on the first game we got, I do think this is a game that you can definitely find some spots. Now, I'm not saying you play all these guys, and just stack away, but I do think you could potentially win a tournament doing that. So this is one of the games to target on this slate. And just again, to sort of rank in order of my favorite plays on the side, I prefer. I guess I have about 25% interest, I would say, in Sexton and Garland. That high. I feel the same way about Drummond, and I feel like Porter's a guy maybe 15 to 20%. And then obviously, if Love is out, Larry Nance becomes interesting. So again, the same thing with Drummond. But I still like Drummond even if Love plays. I just like him better if Love's out.
So are we understating Nance if Love is out? I mean, it used to be when Love was out, Nance was like a lock. But I guess now that Drummond's there, it's not exactly the same.
It's a little different for sure. And the minutes decrease in the first game was a little bit alarming, but I don't know that it would be a lock. I would have to try and figure out how the rotations would go. I would imagine they would just start him. Usually I like him out better off the bench, but I imagine they just start him alongside Drummond because they're not going to start Thompson alongside Drummond. Yeah, I don't know, honestly. It's going to depend. I guess they still bring him off the bench. They could start Osman at the 4. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a lock and load, but I think he's an interesting play if left.
Okay, moving on. Washington, New York. We watched the Washington-Chicago game last night. I thought it was kind of fun to watch. You saw kind of the two major all-star snubs like going at it last night a little bit between Beal and Levine. That was definitely fun. And I'm just a little concerned. Not concerned. I'm kind of interested to know why Beal at 9,500 against the Knicks is going to be like 5% owned. Because is it back-to-back or something? I don't know exactly. I mean, you know me, I don't like to play the back-to-backs, but hell, I mean, Beal against the Knicks at freaking.
Go ahead.
Beal against the Knicks at 5% owned. I'm gonna have to take a shot. No.
Okay, so the reason that Beal's price is down, in my opinion, is as much as his usage has been phenomenal with his shot taking, the assist numbers, even though he had a decent one, he had 7 yesterday, have mostly been a little bit down. And it sort of stands to reason with a combination of Ish and Napier who handle the ball a little bit more and can kind of play. Even with like McRae, it wasn't as bad. I don't know. It's just, I can sort of see where they're coming from, but I do think that it's a great spot to attack. So yeah, definitely want to be well above the field on Bradley Beal. I don't care about the back-to-back. I'm going to sell on this narrative too, because I told you it all year last year. Bradley Beal cares about narratives, okay? Bradley Beal cares about playing every game and proving that he's the best. He's got a little bit of a chip, which I like that about him. And for DFS, that's the kind of guy we want to attack. Remember how much money we were making with him at 1% and 2%? Because, why would they play Bradley Beal on the stretch? It took him until about 2 games before the season was over to actually stop him. And he was putting up 65s and 70s at 0 ownership last year. This is a spot where I feel like it's similar. I like that it's in New York. I like that he feels snubbed by the All-Star committee. I like all the narrative parts of it that go on here. Not to mention that Bradley Beal should just be able to torch this team.
Yeah. Now,
high on him. Totally agree.
I don't like anybody else on Washington. On the Knicks side, I have to tell you that as much as I like playing this guy, and he's obviously the best player on the team and all this, I honestly have no interest in Julius Randle at 20% ownership, even on this slate.
Wow.
I just feel as though there's just way too much juice in this slate. There's way too much. There's a lot of really, really good players and good players. And I guess I've just been spoiled, like getting Randall at 5% over the last couple of outings or something like that. So, again, I don't want to fall in love with players and fall in love with plays. I think he's fine. I don't think he's anything special, though. So, I wish I knew in advance. Obviously, it'd be nice to know for sure what his ownership's going to be. But if he's going to be 20, 25%, I just presume do something else. But, yeah, it's fine. He's good plays, the best player on the team in a close game and a up-paced matchup, and, he's going to get his 35, 36 minutes regardless. So, I mean, I guess it's fine. But as far as GPPs go and trying to find low-owned stuff, I think I'd probably do something different.
I like the take, man. You're coming in with some hotter stuff than usual. I was expecting you to be all over Randall. I like Randall. I would be probably with the field, though. I do think that there's, just for the same reasons you said, really well put, there's just plenty of juice on this slate to get other exposure. But if I am going to play Beal, running back Randall, you hope you get that 120 combo between the two of them, and and you're looking pretty good. And again, while Randall might have some ownership, Beal doesn't. So I don't really mind running a semi-chalky Julius Randle because I'm going to be playing Bradley Beal in those lineups probably.
And that makes sense. I mean,
right.
again, it's you can play. If you're going to pair Randall with a 5% guy, I mean, then definitely makes sense.
I'm going to mention this, and I don't want anyone to actually make this play, but I want to just mention it. I would not be surprised if you saw a massive game out of Bobby Portis or Mitchell Robinson here.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Bobby Portis is the way off the board one. I actually think Mitchell Robinson is like bordering on like a really good tournament play. Like there's so much upside for this guy, and you just don't know what you're going to get in terms of minutes, in terms of situation. I'm still flirting with what I want to do with it. Right now I've just got like 10%, but Elfrid Payton, RJ Barrett are all guys I want a tiny bit of exposure to because I'm trying to take the other side. And I'm going to have to throw maybe one cheap lineup in with Bobby Portis against his former team, a guy who just, I don't know, his brain works in a different way than everyone else's does. So, yeah, they might pull him because he's shooting the ball too much, or he might be making everything. He might have 40 at halftime, 40 fantasy points at halftime. Like, literally, that's in the realm of possibility with Bobby Portis in this kind of a matchup. We saw it with the Bulls when he played them. And I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, but we saw him actually have both matches when he went back to Chicago. And he had one bad one and one just, I think he had like 65 points and was on at 3,500. I'm willing to take that shot. It's probably not the right slate, but I think that I like playing the Bobby Portis mind game. So look, that's one tournament out of 100 tournaments. I'm not saying to do it, but I do think you could consider Mitch Rob for more than that.
Yeah, I can't play Payton at 7,500.
So we were talking Elfrid Payton. You were saying you couldn't pay 7,500.
I just didn't want to play him at 7,500.
Yeah, I completely get it. I just want to, like, it was a good matchup. I think that RJ Barrett is a sneaky play. Should be getting more of the minutes back soon, but I don't like him as much with Payton in there, and I don't like Payton as much with him in there. So I really like this matchup for Payton. I just don't think I can do it.
Okay. What's next on the list? Okay, so Milwaukee, Indiana. So Giannis remains out. So they did attempt to.
They did a good job.
They did attempt to adjust the salaries. I think they didn't do enough with one guy, and I think they did too much with another guy. And maybe this is my natural biases or whatever it is, but even based on the projections too, on the Milwaukee side, I really think Eric Bledsoe remains a really, really good play. He's projected still look really, really strong, even given the price increase. And I actually am off of Middleton at 8,800. So between those better Milwaukee value guys, I like Bledsoe a lot more than Middleton. I think they're coming in very similar ownership. So for me, that's kind of an easy one. Ersan just scares the crap out of me. You know, every time I play him, he ends up getting there, but then he's like never in at the end. He's like he does enough to get there, but it's going to be an ownership thing. He looks fine. I mean, like if he somehow gets forgotten and get him at lower ownership, he certainly looks to have good value. But if he becomes like a huge chalk at 4,800, I don't know if I'm going to be, that quote unquote with the field on him. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So on the Milwaukee side, I really like Bledsoe the best. And I do like Bledsoe actually. And the other guys I'm really not into. I'm not into Lopez, not into DiVincenzo or anybody like that. So as far as Milwaukee goes, it's really just that. Indiana, I kind of going to re-steal your thunder here. I think that Oladipo's, whatever. I think he's basically a lock at 4,800. He just is. He's the best, probably the best player on the team. He's going to have 30. He's going to be on the court 28, 30 minutes, and he's going to have the ball a decent amount of the time. Yeah, he hasn't been as aggressive coming back as he used to be, but whatever. He's still only 4,800, and I think he's just a phenomenal play. And I think that if that ownership of 15, 20% is accurate, I just think that's first of all, I think it's way too low, and as a result, I think it may be way too low. In other words, I think that people are going to play a lot more of him than 20%. But we'll see. There's sneaky, home revenge narrative. Brogdon against Milwaukee, maybe a little bit. But so I might be interested in that. But Brogdon's more of the intellectual. I don't know if he's It's more the vengeful type. But and as a matter of fact,
Does he have to be at this price?
yeah, that's the thing,
Yeah.
But the other thing I will say is that the last couple of times that I played Brogdon in those types of spots, he was really just not too vengeful at all. But like you said, he doesn't have to be at this price. He does look to be a good value in and of himself. I do like Oladipo just a lot more. Let's put it that way. I got no problem playing a little bit of Brogdon, but for me, it's going to be Oladipo on Indiana and Bledsoe on Milwaukee.
Yeah, I actually don't mind if you want to play Oladipo and Brogdon together if you're going to play some of the Milwaukee guys. I think that my first instinct was to agree with you and go the same route. Like projection wise, obviously Eric Bledsoe is going to rate better than Chris Middleton here. I've watched this story happen for years now. I've made a fortune on it at times because people didn't correct the right way. And by the way, what the old rule was is that Bledsoe usually got there without Giannis. Middleton always just smashed. Like he was never like below 50. It felt like I think he had one game. But I like that they priced him and made it tricky. I still like this game as a target. I mean, Milwaukee gives up the most 3-point attempts in the NBA, which makes it interesting to play against them. While they're great defensively, they also score the most points in the NBA. So they play really fast. They are not the same defensive team without Giannis. I want to get exposure to this spot. I think the guys I'm leaning towards so my off the board one a little bit is Brook Lopez. And again, I'm just going to keep doing it with size. Like I look at the matchups when they've played against size, unless he got into foul trouble, unless it was a blowout or something to those effect, or unless they bench the other big men, which they really can't even do in Indiana because there's always a big man on the floor. I think you're going to see more minutes from Bledsoe tonight. So we've seen him hit that 32, 33 minutes. If he can get up to that, and we've got him projected around 28, 29, even at that, I think that there's room for him at this price. Look, they need the usage has to go somewhere. And this is a time where he wasn't on the court as much against Sacramento. But if you string out what he was doing in Sacramento, now this is a tougher matchup, but to take most of that for another 6 or 7 minutes, you're looking at a guy with 40 plus. And honestly, in this game, what's weird to me about Milwaukee is that I don't think this is not the kind of matchup. I mean, yeah, well, I expect Middleton and Bledsoe to rebound well as they always do. Who's going to get all the rebounds for this team? I don't think it's going to be Ilyasova against Turner and Sabonis. I don't think it's going to be Wesley Matthews look who's going to be playing. So it's sort of leading me to like Brook Lopez who never rebounds. I'm just sort of thinking like there's got to be some rebound upside too. The pace should be okay, obviously better for Indiana. I just think he's kind of an interesting off-the-board play. I don't know how much of him I'll have, but I actually like Bledsoe and Middleton. I'll probably be ahead of the field I'll probably be in the 25% range on each of them. I just feel like, and I think you can play them together if you want to go the full stacking route and play Oladipo and Bledsoe. Still formatting my thoughts on this depending on what other value opens up. I mean, obviously Toronto really matters with Ibaka, things like that. But as of right now, I really don't mind playing a Brogdon, Oladipo, Bledsoe, Middleton, even with them at higher prices. And I just think the one guy they didn't hike up, even though he didn't play especially well in his time the other day, I just think we can take a shot on DiVincenzo. Connaughton, if he was pure minimum, I probably would go there, but I don't think I'm going to do it at 3,800.
Well, one guy I mentioned that I didn't want to leave this point because I just looked at some ownership. This obviously can't be right, but Ilyasova does project to be a good play. In other words, like if he's actually, I mean, I'm looking at 5%, which is just never going to happen. But
I don't agree with you. I think that is actually accurate.
Well,
no, it's not. With Marvin Williams there, like he might not even play 20 minutes.
Ersan?
Yeah, why would he? He only plays 24 minutes when Giannis doesn't play. So now you've added Marvin Williams to the mix. Why would they need to play Ilyasova? That's just my thinking.
We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think don't get me wrong. I think Ilyasova gets more minutes, but I think they get divided up a little bit differently. Now we'll see. I don't personally have any.
Marvin Williams. I'm concerned about Marvin Williams.
Just taking up 15 minutes, which is what is going to happen.
Think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would bet money that Marvin Williams, assuming that he's announced in, gets some minutes tonight, as will Sterling Brown, as will They just play a lot of guys.
Robin Lopez will play 12, 15 minutes also. I mean, people are going to play.
Robin Lopez too, yeah, absolutely. But I don't see how Ilyasova. I think you actually might see both Lopez's on the court at times tonight. I really do. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Probably not great for DFS, but just kind of a fun thing to see. But yeah, it is an interesting game. And again, maybe I'll have better, more formatted thoughts as the day goes on this. I do think Middleton's projections are a little bit silly, and they're off, in my opinion. I think that he's actually, I've got him as a better play than these guys do. And I'm just going to take a quick look at RotoQL, because I do think this is partly what decides the slate. This game could, at least it could. It certainly has decided all the other ones. Yeah, we like Middleton much better on RotoQL than we do on some of the other sites. And I sort of would tend to agree with that. I just think it's dangerous because at this price, not dangerous. It's just like, I guess, what is the danger really? He's going to put up 40. That's really the downside. I don't see him putting up less than 40 some year ever. I mean, it'd be hard for me to imagine. Maybe 35, I guess he could do it like on a fluky day, but I like him.
All right. Let's go to the Toronto Brooklyn game, which they just played this. They just played this last week.
But we didn't get, unfortunately, we didn't get, what's his name? Oh, no, we did. Ibaka played that one. Never mind.
Yeah. So and I remember the discussion of that game was like all the Toronto guys had really, really great values, and I kind of forced in the Nets values that weren't that great, and they both did really well. And just to see how the prices have kind of adjusted, because the matchup is somewhat similar. Interestingly, on the Toronto side, it doesn't look quite as good, because I remember back then, like Terrence Davis, I think was like 3,300. Like,
yeah,
for example, So for me, I do think that the Toronto value is not quite as good. Now, I'm presuming, for the purpose of this discussion, Serge is in.
Mm-hmm.
Serge is out, then we're back to the same nonsense of what to do with RHJ and Boucher as we were last week, which I screwed up. I shouldn't screw it up, which didn't work out for me. Let's put that. Mm-hmm. I do think Serge is the best play if he plays. And I'm not too into much of Toronto, if you want to know the truth. So you could probably try to talk me into it, but I'm not too into the Torontos with these prices.
Yeah, the price they're sort of priced as if, Serge was out or somebody was out, because that's what's been happening, but we don't really have that situation anymore. Sorry, now go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, and on the Nets, I like the same guys I've been playing. I like LeVert. I think he's just, I think he's really, really good. And I think, as you were mentioning, or I don't know if you mentioned it, but we both mentioned it, he's the best player on the freaking team with no Kyrie. And he's locked in now, man. He's locked into his starting role as like a major producer. He's, quote, only 6,600, or, some people say, wow, he's already 60. I think he projects nicely. I think his ownership is going to be kept in check. I think that he's a really, really strong play. And I think Dinwiddie is the other guy who, again, you could play if you want to. He's never, he hasn't really shown a lot of ceiling recently, but he's my other guy on the Nets. And then the third guy is the guy that you keep turning me on to, and I keep playing. He keeps doing well. Is Taurean Prince. So I like LeVert. I like Dinwiddie. I like Prince. And it's interesting. Like here today, I'd be much more inclined to look to play the net guy first, and then figure out what to do on the other side. Like, yeah, it's kind of a weird kind of run back, right? Like a Serge with like a Prince, or a Serge with like a LeVert, have like the center run back with the shooting guard. It's kind of interesting, kind of weird when you think about it. But Serge does look to be the best play for me if in fact he plays. Now again, that doesn't factor into ownership. Like ownership, let me take a look real quick. So, I mean, Serge, if he plays, I mean, he's going to be huge chalk, So
chalk is going to be whoever plays Serge, RH. It's going to be Serge or RHJ, basically.
Right. So for me, I mean, and again, this ownership is beyond retarded, but I shouldn't say that word. I'm not allowed to say it anymore. It's beyond ridiculous. But if you give me Karis LeVert at some 5%, I'll be more than happy to try it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I would be willing to take a complete weird pivot if there was no Ibaka and play Chris Boucher. But I do think that RHJ would be just like everybody's gonna lock him in, and I get it. Also, he gets the revenge game against Brooklyn. Like, there's a lot of extra things that play in.
I didn't even see that.
There's a lot of things there. But look, there's somebody from this team is going to be the mega chalk, and I certainly agree with a lot of it. Like Ibaka, it's not like he's coming back from it's an illness. So if he's coming back, you're not worried about that. It's not like he's coming back from a broken, bone or something.
Now you know what's going to happen if Serge is out. If Serge is out, you realize Boucher is going to be 30% again.
No, he's not. I'm telling you, I get what you're saying, but I think that Hollis Jefferson is going to be like 60%, and I think that
Okay.
it'll be like Boucher will be like 4% or 5%.
Okay.
Maybe not, man. I don't know.
Sign me up then. That's fine by me.
I don't know. We'll see. So I also really like Siakam. I'm just gonna keep betting on this guy when other people aren't. When you get him at low ownership, like basically when I'm looking at 8,700, I'm just thinking how often does he get me 50 here? And I think, especially if Serge is gone, he does it a ton of the time. Without Serge, it's more borderline. But last game before the All-Star break, good matchup. I'm willing to take a shot there. Again, there's a lot of good plays in this slate. It feels weird to play for Siakam over Randall in that matchup, but I certainly have some builds where I could see that maybe playing both of them. I don't really want to stack this game. I guess if you want to play Dinwiddie or LeVert on the other side, that's fine, and same with Prince. But I don't really have a huge amount of interest in anybody on that side at these prices, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this about Siakam, right? So I played him the other day, and he was just my freaking hero, right? Not that I'm greedy, okay, or anything like that. And yeah, you play a guy.
You're gonna say he shot 14 for 21. He only put up 56.
That's what I'm saying. Like, well, not even that. Like, I didn't even know the stats. All I was saying is I was watching the game, and it looked like he scored and did something every single possession, and he quote unquote only got 56. Now again, I'm not greedy or anything like that. Like, you signed me up for 56, I should probably want to take it, especially at 8K. But and again, this is like unfair. Like, but when you look at other types of guys, that just kind of just play and play and play. Like, you see like Draymond Green guys, like they come, they play a game, you don't even know they played the game, they had 50 points. You know what I mean? It was just kind of, I don't know how to quite describe it. I'm sure that the statisticians can look into the guy's assist rate and rebound rate and all that stuff and figure out why that is. But a guy goes 14 for 21, 6 for 8 from 3, who has all this, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems to me I would want more. Again, that's I guess that is a little bit too greedy.
No, but first of all, it's not like he has. I mean, I agree with you in general that those things always do startle me. But I know his game and I know his minutes upside, and I don't feel like he needs to do that. I mean, look at the last time he's three games back. He scored 49.75, and he was 7 for 18 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3. So you know what I mean? He can get block steals that he didn't get in the last game. He can get a lot more than 6 rebounds in a game. You could get if you get the double, that turns into 70. And I'm just saying there's a lot of ways it could play out a little bit different. But yeah, I certainly understand that he's a little bit worrisome at this price, but no one's going to play him. And I see him getting 50 here enough to where I think he's viable at least. Well, we'll go through that again.
I mean, if Serge plays, then you'll get him at lower ownership for sure.
Yeah.
That was pretty insightful thing I just said. All right. Okay, moving on, I guess, to Charlotte, Minnesota. And Charlotte's becoming like a really just awful basketball team if they weren't already. And Minnesota's not bad. Can we say not bad?
First of all, I'll tell you that my personal take on them is they've looked really good. Even that game against to Toronto the other night, that game was not an 11-point win like it looked like. Well, first of all, I mean, also Siakam killed all the bet. I actually made a bet on that game at -8 plus 8.5. Oh no, 9.5 for Minnesota, and they were up. They were down 8 and literally they're supposed to run the clock out, and Siakam hits a 3. Like, come on, man. So that was a little bit annoying. It only cost me $50, but I just it was a good call by the BetQL app. Anyway, Charlotte might be struggling and terrible and all this stuff and playing slow. I will tell you right now, and I'll talk about this later on the BetQL show, I would bet the over on this game. I will not bet the under on any game Minnesota plays, pretty much at any total, until they catch up. I do give Vegas a lot of credit in general, but I've watched this Minnesota team play, and they look lightning quick. First of all, they're a blast to watch all of a sudden, from being the worst team in the NBA to watch to being one of the most fun. I really admire what they did. I don't think D'Angelo Russell's a guy you're ever going to win a title with, but I do like him as a player for them, and I think that it's cool what they've done considering where they were. But side note, the main thing is we have to keep targeting against them. We absolutely look at how many guys for Toronto went off the other night. What was it, 6? Like, I mean, how are we not going to play these really underpriced, with one exception, Charlotte Hornets? Like, I just think we have to be all over this game. I might plug at least one a rule where I have one Hornet in every lineup. The problem is they can at times spread it out a little bit, but you're going to get such minutes from Devontae Graham, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, and PJ Washington. And then my sneaky play of the day, one of my favorite plays on the board is Malik Monk. I'm sorry to start off. I usually let you go first, but I just feel really excited about this situation. PJ Washington is by far the heaviest interest, but Washington, Rozier, Monk, Graham, Bridges, one or two will be on a lot of my teams because I really buy into you have to attack this Minnesota team. And these guys didn't get the price up the way they were supposed to. So I think the projections are too thin. And even at the projections, you still need to be getting in PJ Washington and Terry Rozier. At least somewhat. I don't love, I prefer Washington and Graham, and on FanDuel, I prefer Bridges. But I just think that Terry Rozier at 6'1" in the nut matchup, he hasn't done it in a long time. Maybe people are off of him. I haven't figured out who I want in the secondary pieces, but I know PJ Washington is my number one play on DraftKings from here. And by the way, Bridges, even at 6'2", is in play still, even at 6'2".
Wow.
It's ceiling matchups, man. You can't do anything about these. They're different types of games. You saw what Bridges put up 44 against Houston. Similar type of situation. When you get that ceiling opportunity, I think you capitalize on it. I really like the Malik Monk long shot play. I can see him just scoring 30 real life points in this game and just taking over.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just tell you what I got, and then maybe it changes. But I didn't want anything.
You don't want Washington?
I really didn't want anything from Charlotte.
Not even Washington.
If I had to, the two guys I was looking at were Rozier and Washington, and then I looked at the 15-20% on PJ Washington. I'm like, I don't know, man. Those would be my two guys if I had to play somebody. If I was going to run a stack or something. I'm also very afraid of this game being a horror show.
That's the only concern I have, to be honest with you.
And then on the Minnesota side, look from a straight projection standpoint or whatever it is. Cat looks. How can he not have a good game? I think he looks really, really good. What's he going to be owned? He's got to be.
Yeah, he'll be owned.
He's got to be owned pretty hard, right? So he's going to be owned, which makes sense. And then you're getting all this crap. I shouldn't say crap. They're all NBA players. They're all good, but Minnesota's still trying to figure out what's going on with all these players. And James Johnson, you're going to tell me that I could bet against him at 40% ownership? I'll try it. You know what I mean? I'm sure that
there's no way he ends up at 40% ownership.
Okay, I'm sure there are plenty of routes where he gets the minutes and he gets 30 points, and I'm like, boy, why didn't I play him? But hell, that ownership, and the other day I played the Juan Hernan-Gomez and nobody played him, and now he's going to be 15-20%. Honestly, I don't know, man.
It's only because other value hasn't opened up yet. That's the truth.
I guess so. I was. Again, that's what makes horse racing, I guess. My initial take was a very not grudging, kind of an easy play on Cat without. And then if I did that, then like I said, then I'd probably open up the requirement sort of to have some Charlotte guys. So yeah, I guess I would do that. I'd play Cat with Rozier and Washington. I want two guys from Charlotte to get there. You know what I mean? If I'm going to play Cat at 10-5. I'd want to take two guys, so I would probably take them. And I think your monk thing is definitely off the board, and is another possibility. But I'm not as again, just because the Charlotte they're playing slow, and I know Minnesota's been playing 150-point games, whatever. And I think it's a rotten matchup for Charlotte. I think that this game could be a disaster. And if these Minnesota guys are chalk, I'm probably off of that. So for me, again, I just don't have as much excitement about this as you do, I guess. So for me right now, it'd be from Minnesota and a grudging Rozier and a decent Washington, but the ownership would bother me.
Yeah, I currently, I don't know if I'm going to stick with this because there's going to be value that opens up. We're not stupid. We've seen it happen every single day. So it's not going to, today's going to be no different with 11 games. But PJ Washington right now I have in 50+% of my lineups. I have him scripted in. I don't see a reason to get away from these were bad, slow matchups that he's been facing. This is the exact opposite. It would be very hard for me to see him with less than 25 fantasy points here. You know, what's it going to be? Voucher, like injury, like how does he not get there? I'm just struggling with it. So, and then you get the I don't know. I feel like I can run it back. I actually like other guys on Minnesota. I really like Malik Beasley. I think Malik Beasley we're seeing the real Beasley come out. He had a tough matchup against Toronto. I mean, that's about as tough as it gets. So I don't hold the 24 against him. He had a monster game against the Clippers, and I think we could see a lot more of that. This guy's active. He does other things other than just score. He can set people up. He can get rebounds. We've never gotten to see the full extent of how good he really is. And I think we're going to get a chance to see it now. I'm not worried about it being taken over completely by Russell. I actually think in terms of real-life basketball, I'm not going to say that because I don't want to start a whole riot, but I really like Malik Beasley. Let's put it that way. And I think he's still too cheap. I think until he gets to be 5K, I'm going to have interest. And again, while Charlotte has been slow, they've still bled fantasy points to the guards. So I'm still fine taking guards against them, even though. And I don't know. I just feel like this game, it's on my list to just target Minnesota every time they play both sides of it. I love Cat, but the problem is you're talking about paying a ton.
Yep.
And what every team is doing now with Cat, I think. Well, what they did in Toronto in that game was interesting. I thought Cat played a beautiful real life basketball game. He had a lot of hockey assists. He had a lot of regular assists. Basically, what he did was he was getting doubled and tripled almost the second he caught the ball. So you get 1-2 passes away from getting a wide open look, and that's something he didn't have before. Is shooters to kick out to. With Wancho there, with Beasley there, it sort of opens and Russell. It opens everything up. So yeah, I have less interest in James Johnson in this game than the other guys, but I will probably have like some James Johnson. I just don't know how much yet. And I'm still expecting a lot better ownership. And if everybody pivots off of James Johnson because the ownership is going other ways, maybe that's where you consider him. It doesn't seem logical to play a chalky James Johnson here, especially in these other matchups where maybe they wanted a little extra size. You're playing a team in Charlotte that has literally got zero size. They don't have anybody to play that's got any size at all. You're worried about Cody Zeller? I'm not. By the way, I didn't mention him either, but he's actually probably in play too. We're going to have to find guys against Minnesota. I know I'm spreading it out a lot, but I think that there might be one Charlotte Hornet on all my lineups tonight. I'm not sure yet, but as of right now, it might be the case.
All right. Okay, next one is Portland and Memphis. And, I forgot to mention this yesterday because the last couple of days because I guess Memphis hasn't been on the schedule. Or maybe they haven't been really on the schedule. But over the weekend, it was really funny. So, over the last couple of weeks, I kind of joked that, Memphis always projects terribly and you have to kind of find a way to play them sometime because you always want to have a Memphis guy in a run back with whoever they're playing against. And this has been kind of my theme, and they've always been projecting so bad, but that meant they were always low owned. So over the weekend, everybody finally got what they wanted. They had injuries or whatever the hell was going on, and they had all this Memphis chalk. They all got projected to be total locks, and every one of them busted. Every single one of them. D'Anthony Melton was like a zillion % owned at like 30 at 4K, and he scored like 11 fantasy points. Dylan Brooks was like a zillion % owned at like whatever his price was. He scored like 14 fantasy points. It was such an incredible irony. And the one guy who's not projected to be a great value was freaking Morant, who went off with a triple double. So it was kind of an interesting bit of irony to watch. So
yeah, I actually think it brings up an interesting point with Morant. I just think if you're going to play him, like unless he's 9K, just ignore that and just decide.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
You make that play. Like he's going to put up 60 sometimes, and you know what? A lot of times he's going to put up 25. But he's a rookie. He's going to put up 60 enough to where you should be playing him.
Yeah. So let's start with Memphis. Like it or not, D'Anthony Melton is going to look to be like a pretty good play again. He's at 4,100. He really was just an atrocity the other day, but he's still going to be playing 25 minutes or so at 4,100. He's a better player than he was the other day, or let's hope so. Then you got Valanciunas, who's I guess okay. Triple J, who I guess is okay, and then Dylan Brooks, I guess is okay, but nothing real exciting. So my favorite, from a projection standpoint, would be to play Melton. I'll just have to see where ownership comes in, where he fits. Like right now, Let me take a look real quick. Is he getting ownership? I presume. DeAnthony Melton? I don't even see him. Oh yeah, he's getting 20%. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna hold.
Yeah. What do you think? Is it be higher or lower?
No, definitely not higher.
Okay. So then on the Portland side, I think that the blessing of what happened with Portland last night, getting run out of the building pretty much in the second half, was that the impact of the back-to-back is not as strong.
Can we take a little victory lap on calling just exactly how much Drew Holiday dominates Damian Lillard? Like it's
he held him, man. He did a great job.
I've never seen a player be able to dominate Dame the way that Holiday does. It's the weird. He outplays him every time.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
And you know, when people look at the fantasy points, they'll say, well, the only reason why Lillard didn't smash was because they got blown out. He didn't play the minutes. No, he was held in check the whole game. And also, again, the other thing about Lillard, and we talked about this yesterday, is that, you know, I was drawn to the possibility of 10% ownership, and he ended up like 29. You know, so that kind of stuff just and like 60 on FanDuel. So that kind of stuff just like makes all the difference. Like I was saying, you know, I'll be more than willing to entertain that argument at 25%. You know, at 10%, I don't want to hear it. So 25%, should have listened to it more. Let's put it that way. So today, I think he is just right alongside of Trey as a really, really good spend up at 10-2. I think he's Memphis is going to play fast or whatever it is. Going to be a nice high-paced matchup. I think Lillard is going to be in just as good a position as Trey is to deliver a slate-breaking performance. As far as ownership goes, I'm kind of presuming that he's going to be kind of, you know, not as highly owned again, you know, just because of the back-to-back and all this stuff. And maybe the people think the bloom is off the rose with Bill Lillard, so to speak. Well, he had his run, and now he's just kind of coming back to earth. Maybe people get off of him. But, you know, 10% or less on Lillard, I will same comment as last night. I'll try it. And certainly, you know, he certainly doesn't have as difficult of as a defensive matchup individually, at least, today as he did yesterday. And Whiteside was actually in the process of delivering a huge game yesterday. He had like 30, 35 fantasy points at the half. And then he just kind of got, you know, he White-sided himself.
The good part is he had all those fantasy points, but if anybody watched the game, he was getting dismantled by Zion. Like, as was everybody tried to put on him on Portland. It was bizarre to see that he was actually putting up numbers, because I honestly feel like he was getting played off the floor, but he was putting up numbers. Like, literally, Zion was dismantling him.
It was like the anti-Siakam. He looked like he was getting killed, but he had 35 fantasy points.
Yeah, no, he still was getting killed, but yes, I understand what you're saying, yeah.
So I think both of them were just insanely strong plays, like Lillard and Whiteside. And again, depending on how ownership flies, I mean, it looks like Whiteside's going to be popular. I mean, not through the roof popular, but he's going to get some ownership. CJ McCollum might be getting ownership. I much prefer. Totally different price and stuff, but I much prefer Lillard. So for me, I will take a shot with Lillard here as a really, really good spend up. Really just alongside of Trey. I really can't separate them as far as how much I would like them, assuming ownership is at least somewhat similar. And problem is, on Memphis, I wouldn't know quite what to do. Do I want to take a shot with Melton? Maybe. Do I want to take another shot with Morant, like you said? Ignore the price? Maybe. But that's where I'm at right now.
Do you need to run it back? Is my biggest thought.
Yeah.
So I have a much more interest in Lillard tonight than I did last night. Obviously, I really like this spot for him. I like the tough back-to-back with some older guys in your team and guys who have had very, very ups and down games in back-to-backs, like Whiteside, who aren't really built for back-to-backs. And what does that mean to me? It means relying on Lillard. They're still desperately clinging on to any playoff hope they can. So these are like must-win games, especially when you're playing at the team that's in front of you. So I'm going to be into Lillard on this slate for sure. I'm also going to be somewhat into McCollum. I'm much lower on Whiteside. I like the idea of fading him. I think his ownership ends up fairly high tonight. And I don't like him on back-to-backs. Now, he did get some of his minutes limited last night, but I personally just feel like there's other ways I want to go. I don't know how else to say it. Like, he could kill me. I understand it. Whiteside at chalk, I always say this. If he gets 60, he's going to hurt me badly. You know what I mean? But It's just not. I'm willing to take that chance. I'm much more willing to bet on Damian Lillard in a must-win spot. Same thing with McCollum. I think that's what they're going to do is default to their main guys. They don't really have anyone to contend. I also think that Trevor Ariza is a sneaky good play in this game today. I don't really understand why the projections hate him so much. He was another guy who would have been fine yesterday. He would have certainly got his 30 fantasy points if the game stayed close. He had 42 the game before against Miami. We had the weird fluky game against Utah. And why wouldn't we assume that Trevor Ariza could be a sneaky value? And, when we're looking at other guys, some of this other value like DeAnthony Melton on the other side. So DeAnthony Melton, when is the last time he put up a game that you would even be okay with? Now, I understand that Crowder's gone now, but it hasn't exactly slanted to, hey, we're going to play Melton. Like, okay, we would take the 31 he put up against Dallas today. We would take that. But, like, why wouldn't I just rather play Trevor Ariza, who I know is going to play 30 minutes, who just by being on the court can get 30, regardless of that DeAnthony Melton is more of a aggressive guy who can score for you. I don't know. And especially because I'm looking at this Memphis team. There are a lot of bodies that are going to play a lot of minutes tonight. And one guy who's going to get overlooked in that is Brandon Clark, who I like as a long shot tournament play, a really long shot tournament play. You know who I'm going to say here. Josh Jackson. Very long shot.
He sucks.
Very long shot play. Well,
I played him the other day when he started, and he's the alpha Pascal Siakam. He looked like he was doing everything, and then I looked at the score and he had like 8 fantasy points. Are you kidding me? Like he was so active. He's shooting. I guess that's good. Shooting the ball, flying all over the court.
Did you happen to watch any of the Bulls last night? I thought Hutchison looked like – in the first quarter, I'm like, oh, my God, I feel terrible I didn't come off more Hutchison. I didn't even look at his score. I was watching the game, and I thought he had like 25 fantasy points.
Yeah, well, then that guy can't make a free throw either.
I mean, I just couldn't believe it. But I actually liked his game a lot better than I ever thought I did. Yeah, harder to run back for sure. Honestly, your best bet may just be a very, very simple – why aren't we just playing Dylan Brooks at 5,500 in a really good matchup? He's been ice cold. He's not going to shoot 8. He's 8 for his last 30. He's 13 for his last 43. He just has been awful shooting the ball. 5,500 in a good matchup. If he makes some shots, I think he's a valuable play. So maybe he's the easy run back. I do love Dame, and I like McCollum a little bit. Again, fading mostly Whiteside because I need to make some stances, and Whiteside is.
Hey, who's been getting in, by the way, is your guy is Swanigan.
I like Swanigan's game, man, but I don't think
he's been getting in a little bit. I'm just pointing out that the other guy who got in, you said you never heard of. I mean, not you were being sarcastic. But last night when all these guys got pulled out of the game, Moses Brown had 10 minutes, and it was like the worst 10 minutes of basketball I've ever seen a person play. He's just literally the worst. Yeah.
Why you got to bring up UCLA guys while we're talking on the air? Come on.
Oh, he was there a year. Who
cares? Fair enough.
Okay, so all right, good. So let's go move on to this. So I guess my first rhetorical question, I guess because what's his name's the owner. My first question is why would Luka play in this game? The game before the All-Star break. And I don't know what the answer is, and I looked at the ownership too. I kind of want to play him.
Me too.
I kind of want to play him. I guess I want to leave it at that a little bit. I mean, he looks to be a really good play, and I bet you 60% of the people logging onto the slate aren't even aware that he's back. You know what I mean? It's kind of gotten used to him not playing, and we're into the All-Star break, and whatever. Maybe he'll come back later, and he just shows up here, and I don't know. I kind of want to play him. He's I don't think I want to play anybody else on Dallas. I don't want to go back to Kristaps, and as much as he's been really good recently, I just don't want to play him with Luka there. I really prefer not to play anybody with Luka on the court, if you want to know the truth. I mean, the guy is like a 200% usage rate. I'm just not interested. And then on the Sacramento side, Fox maybe. So that's where I'd go. I'd probably go with Fox. I'll try one. Maybe I'll try one Fox and Luka or something like that. But I got no problem with taking a shot at Luka. He's putting up a 70 before the All-Star break. Sounds good to me.
Somebody's going to have to explain to me why this point total is where it is. So first of all, if you're betting, I'd bet the over just because that's
for sure, right? I mean,
I don't even understand it. The Mavericks average 119 a game. I think they average like 120 at home, or 118 and they average 120 at home. They also give up the fourth most points in the NBA. So I'm really confused at why these totals are as low as they are. That's the
come on, you know the answer already, because don't worry about it. It's just the under's just a lock. It just is.
No, dude, okay.
Just is. It's the way life works, man. It's
if this game stays within 15 points, I don't see how they don't go over. I really don't. I mean, I know that these are not the same games, but they actually have been playing for the most part a little bit faster. I am going to be into a few things in this game. I love my man Bogdan. Look, the other night he had me sweating. Still pulled out a fine game in the end, but I think he had like 2 fantasy points at halftime and ended up with 27.
Is that true?
Yeah, it just reminds me of what my man Bogdan can do for me. He was 2 for 9 from 3, still put up 27, 5,100. Really elite matchup, I feel like, against Dallas here. You can shoot the ball on them. You can beat them from the outside. And 3 of his last 4 games has been over 27. He put up a 31 and 40 before that. I like the situation. I like that nobody's going to play him. And he's a guy I definitely like to be overweight on.
He's really getting 32, 34 minutes, huh?
He's the man. They made a decision. When they decided not to trade him, you know what they did? They traded Dedmon specifically so they could make it room to re-sign him. And they made him a starter. So if there's one guy they're committed to, it's this guy, along with Fox, obviously. And then you might even say Hield would be third now, but they're all the plan is to have all 3 of them. And that's definitely the plan. Because they could have traded him for – I was hearing some really, really good trades at the All-Star break for them, and they weren't going for it. So – and if you look at Bogdanovic's struggles lately, they've mostly been on back-to-backs and things like that, or blowouts, or sometimes both. Mostly he's been at 25 in any game that's been competitive, or at least over 20 in every game that's been competitive, and he's had some bad ones. So I feel like there's some safety with some upside here. Even the projections like him, but none of the ownership does. Sometimes when that happens, it's a good time to jump on. And I feel the same way. I think De'Aaron Fox is just – I don't understand why people aren't going to play him. This guy just shot 5 for 19 the other day and put up 46 fantasy points. 5 for 19. What if he made some shots? De'Aaron Fox is a great play today, and I think he's going to have a little more ownership than Bogdanovich, but these are 2 spots I don't see a ton of people attacking. Of course, Jabari Parker is probably going to come in and take 500 shots in his 14 minutes, so it's going to kill us. But whatever. It's only for his 14 minutes anyway. And then I love.
He's active again.
Who? Jabari? Yeah, he's supposed to be in tonight. We'll see. We'll see if they actually give him through the All-Star break. We don't know how that will go. It doesn't really affect me, to be honest with you, because I'm not playing any of the bigs on Sacramento. I'm only touching those guys. And then honestly, you could throw in a Buddy Hield long shot every single tournament slate, especially this kind of a game too. Actually, you might want to deem him a 10% if you're playing a lot of entries. On Dallas' side, though, I actually like Kristaps too. I don't mind. I like that we got the discount on price now on him. I know he had not beautiful last couple games. They got to a really slow start against Utah, and he played pretty well after that. And then they had the crazy game against Washington where he only played 21 minutes and got hurt or whatever. Actually, I don't even remember what happened in that game. But look, he put up 60, 59 before that. I know that was without Luka. 8,200. Even if you just look at his season averages, it still makes enough sense to play him. Do I think you need to? No. But he's definitely a guy who I'm not going to cross off at 0 ownership, who I think can get me 60. Again, I like this matchup for both teams, but it's really just Luka or him, and I think I'm definitely preferring Luka. The problem is I like Trey, I like Lillard, I like Luka. So we're going to have to make some decisions. Now, if you told me Luka was going to get all the minutes he gets all the time, it's Luka, then Trey. But if you don't tell me that, it's not. I don't know if I can do that. So that's the only thing.
And you could play 2 of those guys in Draftkings like really easily. And you want to know what makes it works is this PJ Washington thing that you're on. This is him at 4,400 is really. I mean that's like a really really strong 4,400.
Right, his 4,400 and potentially Oladipo's 4,800. That gets you. If you can get. I mean, those guys have 40 plus upside. If they get to 35 even, you're cruising with your plays. So anyway, I'm into that. I do think that Luka's a guy we might need to find a way to get in more lineups. I can't imagine that he really ends up only 5% owned here.
Yeah, I hope it'd be 5% when they announce an unknown minutes restriction or something.
Like if he was 12-9, sure, but like not at 10-9. That's for Luka. That's like a bargain.
Yeah.
We got a great one coming up. Well, not a great one, a really interesting one to try and figure out coming up next.
Miami, Utah?
That wasn't the one I was thinking, but we'll do that one first.
Okay. So Miami, I'm presuming everybody's playing. Who knows? Bam and Butler, fine. I guess is the best way I look at it. I mean, are you going to be really, really low owned? I mean, let's take
They're
a
going
look.
to be unowned.
Yeah, so they're fine then. I mean, if you want to play them against an overrated Utah team, not overrated, you know what I'm saying. Like
a team that literally hasn't been playing any defense.
Yeah, I mean that's totally fine by me. Well, you want an over? You want an over? I mean, try this one. Only 217. I'll try that one.
What always worries me with Miami though, because they can really slow things down. A lot of
exactly. That's why the over is a lot. See, that's the way you got to think about these things. Telling you, I'll drive BetQL crazy. All right, so I like Bam and I like Butler. I don't like anybody else. On Utah, the usual guys. I guess Gobert is fine. Mitchell, I guess, is just okay. I mean, I'm not too excited about anybody over here, honestly. I presume Conley's going to play. I don't like Conley. Makes Ingles a little less appealing for me. Royce O'Neal, I don't really need to take a shot at him. This is the exact wrong time for me to play Jordan Clarkson. Oh my God, they priced him up to 5,300. Savage. Savage. Can you believe that? So I'm not playing him. And I don't know, maybe this is can this be a game on a freaking 100-game slate? I don't know, man.
I think it is pricing. It's like, I mean, so I know we've made this argument for a lot of it. I'll give my ownership to the end. I'm not going to be like everybody else and just say my favorite. But, I mean, the pricing on this game certainly makes it, like, mini stackable really easily.
Like with which guys? I mean, because I don't – who do you want to play?
Bam and for starters, Bam and Butler. What is the one thing I've said about Utah that I keep pointing out? First of all, the defense, other than the defense being a facade at this point, as long as Mike Conley's in the lineup. Let's just read about what the points they've allowed. They've allowed in their last games 119, 113, 114. They had the 98 only against Denver in a defensive battle. 124, 106, 127, 126, 107. I mean, what are we talking about, like, about their defense? Like, at this point, it's becoming more just like whatever instead. I actually think Miami is the team that can slow it down and maybe cause more problems. But what else do we notice in these games? Sealing games from some player – literally breaking every slate has been on against the Jazz. It was going back to 5 games ago. Oh, sorry. Let's go back even further. I just want to do this because it's actually amazing to look at. You had the massive game against Denver for Jokic. I think he put up 79. Then Lillard, I think, put up like 80. Then the next night, Jokic again put up like 70 on a back-to-back. Then after that, Lillard put up another like 70. Then Harden and Westbrook both put up, I think, 65 and 75. I don't know what it was, somewhere around there. And then you get, again, the other night, slow start for Kristaps, so he didn't get going till late. But Tim Hardaway Jr., broke the slate with 10x on FanDuel. They've had a slate breaker performance against them pretty much every day. Like, maybe that's something kind of worth noting. Maybe this is where Jimmy Butler in a competitive environment at the end, like we always like to take players against this team at no ownership. Jimmy Butler at 8K. Why can't he put up 55, 60 fantasy points? This seems like a great spot to do it. Everybody thinks Utah's a tough team to do it against. To me, that seems like the team you'd expect to do it against. So I like Butler and I like Bam. But again, I've named a lot of players in this slate, so I can't play everybody. But those are the guys I'm leaning towards. And again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention at least that you got to keep throwing out some Jay Crowder shots. When no one's playing him, he's just crushing every night. Just play him a little bit. Like, don't.
Has he been crushing?
He's put up – I mean, look, so basically he put up 39. It's only 2 games so far with the team. He's put up 45 and 39. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, before that even, he was hot already for Memphis. Like, look, he's a streaky guy. It's volatile, but it's absolutely worth gambling on.
Wait, I have a question. Did he play for Utah?
No. Oh, yes, he did. But I wouldn't associate that as his – like, he played with a bunch of teams at this point. But like, I don't think there's any beef with him. But I like this game a little bit. Like, in a slate that we've got so many interesting things, that this is one of the games that's sort of off the board that you just have no ownership on. I mean, would it be surprising at all to see Bam or Butler score 50? No. And they are priced extremely reasonably and going to be unowned. Along with, you can run it back with Gobert. Not a great matchup, but he's 8K. He's probably going to get you around 40, and there's always upside for that on that. I mean, look, it's not ideal. I don't love the run backs over here. I think most people would play Mitchell. I don't really love that. I think it's Gobert or Ingles for me, honestly, if I'm going to run it back. But mostly, I don't think you necessarily need to. I think you just play one of those Bam. Probably Butler as the guy, but if you did play Bam and Butler, maybe you'd run it back. But otherwise, I like Butler the most.
Okay, I like your Crowder.
Crowder is the off the board one that just you don't know what you're going to get, but like we don't know what we're going to get. We've got 40 from him. Let's keep getting 40.
That's true. All right, so Golden State against Phoenix. I didn't really give the Golden State guys too much thought, although I should have. But just it looks like no one's going to own any of these guys.
Yeah, for good reason.
Someone's got to own somebody, right? I mean, you can't just
I don't know. I don't think they do.
Totally unknown. So I guess I got to think about it because on Phoenix, I just can't imagine a world where I don't play Booker here. So
you don't play who?
Booker. So
oh yeah.
I presume he's going to be, just as usual, one of those 15 to 20% owned guys that are throughout the slate. And I think he looks like a great play. I do. And so he's my favorite guy on Phoenix. I'm not, again, I'm not too into Rubio. I'm not too into Oubre either today. So for me, I'd love to just do something with Booker and something from Golden State. So just eyeballing it real quick. I mean, I could play Wiggins, I suppose. Or I can go try a Damian Lee or a Draymond. I guess try one of those three. I don't know. I think I may be overthinking some of these other guys. I think Booker's just an amazing play here, and even at 15% ownership, or I'd take that. I don't know if you got up to 30, I wouldn't take that, but I think he looks like a great play, and I'd love to try. Maybe like I said, maybe Damian Lee or Andrew Wiggins. I hate playing, but maybe just for the sake of forcing a run back of some kind, maybe I do something like that.
To be honest, I really don't like anybody on Golden State. The only guy I would consider playing is Kai Bowman as an off-the-board, low-owned guy. If Kai Bowman's going to play 26 minutes, project for 5.3x, and have less than a percent of ownership when everybody's going to play James Johnson, who's only supposed to play 22, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm just going to circle that one a little bit. What I would note is that there's about 75 people in uniform tonight for the Warriors. And I don't know how these minutes are going to break out. I don't know if they do. You could certainly make an argument for Draymond. I think that's fine. And people will make an argument for Wiggins. I'm not going to be that person. I actually think Draymond is probably a little bit of a better play than we're just thinking off the top of our heads. I don't know. It's a good matchup. It's just hard to get that ceiling game from him these days. So maybe not, but I just was trying to think about it because I do like Booker just like you. I think that it's what's happening here is that without Ayton, it should increase Booker. I know he really struggled the other night. He killed my lineups, but I'm more than happy to go back to it. Because of it, we're gonna get he ended up 35%, I think, on a big slate on Draftkings the other night, and I think we're gonna get much lower ownership on him tonight. I'm
honestly more concerned about him getting 42 fantasy points in the third quarter and never getting back in the game. I mean, that would be my main concern about this situation.
So I hear you. I don't know that Golden State is as bad as they were.
That could be.
That's my thought. And look, I'm going to keep taking my Ricky Rubio shots. I'm just going to point out the minute something keeps happening to keeping him from getting over that 30 hump, and I'm going to play him and get that 50 out of him one of these days. So I don't know how much of him I'll have tonight because I've named a lot of guys I like, but I don't mind Rubio. I actually like Oubre on FanDuel. I like Oubre on DraftKings too, at no ownership. But Booker is the main one, so I don't really want to stack this game. So mostly it's just going to be Booker for me. But I want to point out that I do like those other guys. I just am not going to play too much of them.
Yeah. So, boy, this really, really sucks. But so the Lakers-Denver game, I really want to make the right decision with this because it's really one of two things for me. It's either to hell with the value projections and just accept these guys are going to be really low owned and just hope for a really competitive game and play Jokic and Murray or or LeBron or AD, or just kind of fade the whole game. So I really don't have any preference between these guys. Like I think Jokic could be look, I'd much rather play, honestly, Lillard, Trey, Luka, if I'm going to get up into this range, than play Jokic. So I just don't know if I'm going to do it. And I remember you say something about Murray in these competitive games, whatever, but these are two very good defensive teams. And I think this game could get, I don't want to say ugly because, these are all really good players, but I think this could be a very, very controlled type game. And I don't know if I'm going to get ceilings out of this game.
Yeah, I hear you. I really like Anthony Davis in this game on the Lakers side. I actually like LeBron too, because my thinking with LeBron is like, if it's going to be really tough and we're going on the road and we need to win, let's I think it's an interesting spot to try and take him. And I also, we haven't had a chance to play any of these guys at low ownership, and honestly at reasonable prices, especially in Davis's case at 10K. I think that he could easily crush here, and just you're not going to get any ownership. They're good defensive teams, but also usually means the stars come out to play. Now, Jokic, it's a pretty bad matchup for him, to be honest with you. The one thing he's got going is that he's got two guys who don't like coming away from the rim on him, unless they put Davis on him, which I don't see happening too often. So you could say Jokic is definitely, without a doubt, Jokic is a strong play, in my opinion. I think the best play on the team is by far Jamal Murray. Maybe the best play in this game. Jamal Murray has played, first of all, he played pretty well overall. He had a horrible game earlier this year against the Lakers, one bad one, one good one. But he's always played well in LA. He hates Rajon Rondo, and he hates
Really?
They just fight a lot. Like that's just how Rondo is. He gets under people's skin. It happens with Chris Paul with Rondo. And Jamal Murray provokes the hell out of everybody in the NBA. So, but what that does is that then in turn leaves him with this he's got like sort of an ongoing narrative with so many different guys and teams and stuff like that he always becomes an interesting sort of fantasy play. Also because he can have these dud games, which keeps his price low enough. And not to mention that he's in phenomenal form right now. Like, what else do we want from this guy? We have no Barton. Who's going to take these shots? And since those guys have been gone, 42, 54, 39. Now, look, we'd like to have more than 39, of course, but those are pretty solid numbers. And yeah, it's a tough matchup, but somebody's going to have to score for this team. This is going to be a competitive game. They're playing at home. Murray tends to be better at home in general anyway. Actually, let me just double check that split. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's not as much of a difference as I would have thought. For some reason, he does play. Actually, it is a little bit of a difference. He does play a lot more minutes at home, which I don't really understand. But yeah, with no Barton, with none of the other guys, I think that he's the guy who would stand out to me here, because what happened last game is Paul Millsap just dominated like crazy for the 19 minutes that he played, and it sort of took away a little bit from the ceiling games that you could have gotten from Jokic and from Murray, who I both liked that day. But I think in this spot, I would give Murray a shot. If no value opens up, and this is only if no value opens up, maybe on your list you leave Torrey Craig, but I can't see no value opening up. I just wanted to throw him out there. He's been playing 30 minutes a game, and basically every other game has been around 25, which if no value opens up, getting 6 to 7x on this price is probably worth taking a shot on.
Yeah, I don't know. I might end up just rooting against that game. I don't know.
That's fine. That seems, just so you know, that's what everyone else is going to be doing too. But
I know that's the problem.
maybe what you do is you play Anthony Davis with one of those other stud guards we like, because I just am thinking we like all these guards, and then we also like some cheaper guards too, that getting that power forward, even if Davis gets outscored by a Doncic or one of the three that we don't use, I think that at 10, he's changing his position eligibility changes things a little bit for you. So if you play like a Davis, or that's also why I like Drummond tonight. I think there's less ownership on these guys than there should be, and it's a big slate, so that's why. But definitely when you see LeBron and Davis just at no ownership, while projecting actually fairly well, and honestly they're better than their projections, because superstars in tight games, that's when they explode. When Jordan scored 55 in that second game back against the Knicks, I think the team only scored 105.
Right.
That's what happens. It's not like you just go off against the Atlantas. That's for the average folks. That's for the average guys, for the Trae Youngs and stuff like that. But against the Washingtons. It's like Bradley Beal, same thing. You don't need to have it's almost the matchup doesn't really matter for certain guys. And the only thing you're getting is lower ownership and probably more usage than usual. Sure, the matchup's tougher, but that makes up for it, the ownership and the usage. All right, are you ready to go through some of the guys I have?
Yeah, go for it, because what I want you, I'd be interested to know where. So funny that you were thinking about that, about Davis as being a center or forward, whatever. Because as I was kind of like scrolling through plays and stuff like that, I was noticing that the center position, particularly, it was a little thin for me. As far as like really loving anybody coming out of there. So I'm curious where you end up on the center power forward stuff.
Well, I really like Drummond.
Yeah, no, I know. And then you mentioned that.
He's probably my guy if I just had to name specifically for the position. But like, there's a lot of players I have, and it's early in the day, so I end up with a lot of guys in the 20 to 30% range, which sort of gets me. The two guys I've got astronomical interest in that I'm going to be well above the field, regardless of what the field is, are PJ Washington and Victor Oladipo. These prices, the matchups, everything too good to just not be all over these guys, in my opinion. I love Devin Booker. He would just barely be above my next category, which is a few guys. Devin Booker I have just above Bradley Beal, Trae Young, De'Aaron Fox, Damian Lillard, Andre Drummond. I think I might put Trae Young in the same category. I think I feel best about Trae versus the rest of the guys in terms of like getting there, because really, like, what's he gonna do? You know what I mean? He's gonna score 50 even if he plays like crap. Like, I'll take him. I also really do. Maybe De'Aaron Fox belongs in that category as well. I really like De'Aaron Fox tonight. But I would like to run the De'Aaron Fox lineups back with Luka, who I have in my next tier. My next tier at the 25% range. And again, I'm gonna have to tighten these up a little bit. But maybe I won't. I mean, I've got two guys at 50+%, two guys at 35%. Maybe I don't need to tighten it up as much as I think. I can spread out a little bit after that. Although there's some big buy-in tournaments, I'm mostly focusing on those today, so it's a little bit weird. But Julius Randle, Terry Rozier, Eric Bledsoe, Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler, Malik Monk, Chris Middleton, Darius Garland, Colin Sexton. That's sort of my next range. Along just beneath them, I would put Malik Beasley. And I think I mentioned Bledsoe, right? Yeah, I mentioned Bledsoe. But that's pretty much where I am for right now. And one thing I would say to people today is, like, we talked about some ownership, so to try and get somebody really low owned makes some sense in certain spots, and like get a Lillard today. But don't worry about most of your ownership, with the exception of the James Johnson and Serge Ibaka positions. I don't see anybody else, at least as of now, people going crazy. Now, we're going to hear about news that's going to make everyone flock onto something. But just remember, there's a lot of really solid plays out there. There's nobody who screams this value. So I'm going to just enforce the guys who I feel like are just undervalued, underprojected, and that's PJ Washington and Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, and that's a really big deal. When the news comes out, to avoid the flocking effect. It really overstates. The ownership just flies.
Yeah, I know.
It freaking flies. So don't be that person like me to just jump on 70% Boucher just because you feel as though, not because you feel like everybody else is, but there's all of a sudden the projection's like, whoa, Boucher is in. Okay, I'm going to play him because it's like 10 minutes to post time and the news just came out. And you're like, yeah, it makes sense to me. Those are the guys that always end up, and I don't want to say over-own in the wrong way, but own more than they would have been if, people knew about it all day long.
Yeah, totally agree. Anyway, Sheets, great doing the show with you. You guys for Sheets, I'm BobbyFi saying we will see you at the top of the leaderboards. Come join us or join me at, what is it we talking about? At 3:30 Eastern time today for the BetQL show. We are going to talk about some sports bets and some DFS bets, and we'll have a better idea of the slate as we get ownership updates. I'm sorry, player who's playing updates. Anyway, for Sheets, I'm BobbyFi. Good luck, y'all.